January 2024. Amber and James Harrison live in their cozy home in the suburbs of Chicago. They've been married for over 10 years, and everyone around them considers them the perfect couple. Their friends often say that Amber and James were made for each other. The couple loves to maintain this image themselves. Walks in the park, warm evenings by the fireplace, and weekly family dinners have become a regular part of their lives. They don't have children, but they are active in their neighborhood, participate in charity events, and help out at the community center. At the beginning of January, Amber's younger sister, Lisa, moves in with them. She's 28, recently broke up with her boyfriend, and decided to start fresh in the big city. Amber has always supported her sister, and when Lisa asked for help, she happily agreed to take her in. "You can stay with us until you get back on your feet," Amber said, opening the doors of their home to Lisa. James also welcomed the idea, supporting his wife. "Of course, Lisa, make yourself at home." From the start, their life together is quite harmonious. Lisa quickly bonds with James, helps around the house, cooks dinners, and even comes up with fun activities for the three of them. For Amber, it's a real gift. She sees how well James and Lisa get along and feels like their family has grown stronger. Their home is once again filled with laughter and noise, like the return of youth. James, Amber, and Lisa are often seen having family dinners, joking and laughing. They take walks in the park where they look so happy and close. To Amber, Lisa is not just a younger sister but a true friend she trusts. This image of the perfect family draws the viewer into an atmosphere of warmth and comfort. But behind this appearance lies something much darker. January 16th. Lisa has only recently moved in, but she's already become a full-fledged member of the family. She often stays at home with James while Amber is at work. They cook lunch together, discuss plans for the evening, and even share jokes that only they seem to understand. To Amber, this seems sweet. Her sister and husband have bonded, bringing them all closer. "I'm so lucky," Amber thinks, sharing her thoughts with friends. January 24th. James and Lisa start spending more time alone. Lisa helps him with yard work, they watch TV together, and discuss movies that used to be favorites for James and Amber. Now, however, Lisa has somehow unexpectedly become part of this daily routine, and Amber increasingly notices their whispers and laughter from the other room. "They're just close, like brother and sister," she reassures herself, glad that James is supporting Lisa during her difficult time. January 28th. A new rule emerges in the house: family movie nights. James and Lisa start organizing these every Thursday, making popcorn and picking out films. Amber joins in, but sometimes notices how they exchange looks and laugh at inside jokes she doesn't understand. At first, it seems amusing, but then little pricks of worry start to creep in. "I'm probably just tired and seeing problems where there are none," she thinks, convincing herself to ignore these small signs. January 31st. By the end of the month, Amber notices that James and Lisa have become closer. She accidentally walks into the room to find them sitting on the couch, leaning in close and looking at something on Lisa's phone. They immediately pull apart as soon as she enters. "We were just looking at old photos," Lisa explains with a smile. Amber nods but feels a cold discomfort in her stomach. "They're just spending time together," she reassures herself, trying to push aside her growing suspicions. February 2024. The Harrison family continues living their usual life, and to outsiders, their home seems full of harmony and joy. However, Amber starts noticing small but troubling changes. She can't shake the feeling that something is off. February 3rd. It starts with little things. One evening, Amber walks into the living room and notices James and Lisa sitting on the couch, close together. They're holding Lisa's phone, engrossed in conversation. However, the moment they see Amber, they fall silent and move apart. "We were just looking at photos from her recent trip," James explains with a smile. Amber nods, but a small sting of worry hits her. A thought flashes through her mind. "Why did they stop talking as soon as I entered?" February 7th. Amber increasingly notices James and Lisa exchanging glances during dinner. It's subtle, unnoticed by others, but she keenly picks up on these fleeting looks. Whenever Amber tries to ask what they're whispering or laughing about, James easily brushes it off, and Lisa just shrugs it away. "You're jealous again," James laughs, pouring himself more wine. Amber blushes, trying to forget about it, convincing herself that her suspicions are baseless. February 14th, Valentine's Day. James and Amber usually celebrate this holiday alone, having a romantic dinner. However, this year, Lisa unexpectedly suggests cooking dinner for all three of them. Amber agrees, though she feels a strange discomfort. The evening passes peacefully, but Amber notices James paying too much attention to Lisa, offering her wine or something else. He jokes with her in the same way he used to joke with Amber in their early years. At one point, Amber catches Lisa's glance, which seems tense and anxious. That look lingers in her memory, making her wonder, what's really going on between them? February 18th. Amber wakes up in the middle of the night to noises coming from the hallway. She leaves the bedroom and sees Lisa quietly climbing the stairs. "Where were you?" she asks sleepily, frowning slightly. Lisa flinches, then forces a smile. "Just stepped outside to get some fresh air." "I couldn't sleep." Amber nods but feels a chill in her chest. She notices that Lisa is acting strangely, as if hiding something. The next day, she asks James if he knew Lisa went out at night. He responds calmly, but too quickly, "No, didn't notice. Probably just nervous about the move." February 22nd. Amber develops a habit of watching her husband and sister's behavior, even though she doesn't want to believe it. She notices that James and Lisa increasingly stay alone under various pretexts. For example, when Amber says she's going for a morning jog, James suddenly suggests Lisa joins him for coffee. "We'll chat here while you're running," he says, trying to sound innocent. Returning from her jog, Amber finds them sitting at the kitchen table, talking so quietly that her appearance almost startles them. "What are you two chatting about?" she asks, trying to sound casual. "Nothing important," Lisa replies, lowering her gaze. February 28th. That evening, Amber decides to check James's phone. Until this day, she never would have dared to invade his privacy. However, her anxiety has reached its peak. Taking the phone while James is in the shower, she scrolls through his messages. Nothing suspicious, just the usual conversations with colleagues and friends. But one deleted message in his chat history with Lisa catches her eye. Amber's heart starts pounding. Why is James deleting messages if they have nothing to hide? She thinks, feeling a mixture of fear and anger. March 2024. Amber knows something is wrong. The last few weeks have been torturous. Whispers, exchanged glances, sudden pauses in conversation when she enters. She knows there is something more behind it all. Her anxiety and concern have reached their limit. Now she decides to conduct her own investigation to uncover the truth. March 5th. The first thing Amber does is check James's phone again. This time, she does it secretly while he's taking a shower. Sitting on the bed, trembling with nerves, she enters the password and begins looking through his chats with Lisa. At first, everything seems normal. Jokes, planning family events. But then she notices several deleted messages in the history. She's immediately on high alert. What could he have deleted? She thinks, gripping the phone. Scrolling through, she comes across a message James sent a week ago. "No one should know. Our moments belong to us alone." March 7th. Amber realizes she needs more solid evidence. She starts tracking Lisa's movements. That evening, when Lisa goes out for a walk, Amber decides to inspect her room. She carefully and cautiously goes through the drawers and closets, as if afraid to find something horrifying. In the bottom drawer of the desk, she finds a small box tied with a ribbon. Amber's heart races. Opening the box, she discovers a stack of letters. She immediately recognizes James's handwriting. Reading the letters, her heart aches. In one dated early February, James writes, "I've never felt so alive before. You give me what I've been searching for." With every line, Amber feels the ground crumble beneath her. She rereads the letters over and over, trying to grasp the reality of what's happening. "How could they?" echoes in her mind. Her hands tremble, and tears stream down her face. March 10th. Next, she searches for photos. Amber remembers that Lisa always kept her phone albums locked, but she often left her laptop open. That day, Amber waits for Lisa to go take a shower, then sneaks into her room. Opening the laptop, she finds a folder named Moments. Amber realizes this is what she was looking for. Inside the folder, She sees pictures that leave her literally speechless. The screen flashes with images of James and Lisa hugging, laughing, and kissing. There are more intimate photos. Selfies taken in Lisa's bedroom, where they lie together, their expressions speaking louder than 1,000 words. Amber's world shatters in that moment. Her hands begin to shake, and she has to step away from the laptop to avoid passing out. March 15th. In the past few days, Amber has been trying to convince herself that it's all a dream, that what's happening is some kind of mistake. However, she realizes she has undeniable evidence that there's more between her husband and her sister than just friendship. To gather even more proof, she checks James's coat pockets. In one, she finds a folded note. Unfolding it, she reads, "I can't wait for us to be alone again. Last night was magical. You're L." Her eyes fill with tears, and a dull pain swells in her chest. This is no longer mere suspicion, it's proof. James and Lisa have been deceiving her for months, pretending to be the perfect family. Her sense of betrayal turns to fury. "I can't stay silent anymore," she tells herself, standing up from the bed. A decision forms in her mind. She has to confront this once and for all. March 18th. Amber calls her close friend and asks to meet. She feels the need to talk to someone, to share her grief. But when she arrives at the cafe, the words stick in her throat. Her trembling hands and distant look alarm her friend, but Amber remains silent. She realizes this is too big of a secret to simply confess. Returning home, she decides, "I have to handle this myself." March 20th. Amber starts methodically gathering evidence. She takes pictures of the notes, screenshots the text messages, and copies photos from Lisa's laptop. She knows she has to be ready for what comes next. Her world is already shattered, but she understands that this needs to end somehow. Amber feels the anger and pain boiling inside her, preparing for the conversation that will put an end to their family drama. April 2024. After weeks of agonizing waiting and collecting evidence, Amber decides it's time to act. She can no longer live in a constant state of stress and lies that have invaded her home. The accumulated anger fills her, and she knows the only way to get answers is to demand them directly. Her world is in ruins, and now she wants to hear the truth from those she once trusted the most. April 3rd. Amber plans a family meeting in advance. She asks James and Lisa to stay home for dinner that evening. "I have something important to tell both of you," she says with a calm face, though inside she's torn apart by emotions. James and Lisa exchange glances but agree. They have no idea that this evening will change everything. 7 p.m. Dinner passes in heavy silence. Amber sits across from James and Lisa, slowly cutting her steak. With every passing second, the tension in the room grows, like a tightened string. James makes a few attempts to start a conversation, but every topic crashes against Amber's icy silence. Finally, she pushes her plate aside and raises her gaze. Her eyes are full of anger and determination. "I know about the two of you," she says quietly but firmly, watching their reactions. 7:05 p.m. The room instantly fills with a deafening silence. Lisa looks away, her face turning pale. James tenses, his eyes growing cold. "What are you talking about?" he says, trying to sound confident, but his voice quivers. Amber slowly pulls her phone out of her pocket and places it on the table. "I found your messages," she says, turning on the screen. "And that's not all." 7:10 p.m. She opens the photos she copied from Lisa's laptop and slowly scrolls through them in front of James and Lisa. James stares at the screen, his face turning red. "This isn't true. You misunderstood everything," he blurts out, trying to justify himself. Lisa, holding her breath, sits frozen, her eyes full of fear. "James, don't lie to me." Amber's voice is cold as steel. She looks directly at him, not breaking eye contact. "I saw everything. And you know this isn't just my imagination." 7:15 p.m. Under the pressure of the evidence and his wife's icy gaze, James starts to break. "Fine," he mutters nervously, lowering his head. "It was a mistake. I never wanted it to go this far." Amber listens to his excuses, feeling her rage build. "A mistake?" she exclaims, jumping from her seat. A mistake is breaking a glass, not cheating on your wife with her sister. She turns to Lisa, who finally starts to cry. 7:20 p.m. Seeing that everything is revealed, Lisa dares to speak. We loved each other, she whispers through her tears. It's not what you think, Amber. We didn't know it would turn out this way. These words hit Amber like a slap in the face. She's furious. Love? She screams, pointing at them. You call this love? Betrayal, lies, and deceit. That's what this really is. 7:30 p.m. Amber's words, filled with pain and anger, crash down on James and Lisa. James tries to justify himself, saying that he and Lisa have a special connection that he couldn't ignore. You were so busy, Amber, all this time. He starts, but his voice breaks. Amber doesn't let him finish. Busy? Her voice shakes. You're blaming me for your betrayal of our family? 7:40 p.m. The conflict reaches its climax. Lisa stands up, trembling with emotion. Amber, I know we made a mistake, but these were real feelings, she pleads, reaching out to her sister. Shut up, Amber yells, pushing her away. You destroyed my world. You took away everything I loved. 7:50 p.m. The atmosphere becomes unbearable. The only sounds in the house are Lisa's sobs, James's heavy breathing, and Amber's angry outbursts. In this moment, Amber realizes she has nothing more to say. Everything she had felt over the past months, all the doubts, suspicions, and fears, had been justified. Now, the bitter truth stands before her, and she's not going to hide it. 8 p.m. Amber grabs the love notes she found and throws them in James's face. Here's your love, she screams, unable to hold back her tears. James, his head bowed, knows there's no more room for retreat. I understand that I've lost you, he says quietly, but Amber no longer hears him. She leaves the room, leaving them in the chaos of emotions and realization of their actions. The room remains filled with an oppressive silence. Lisa and James stand in confusion and bitterness. Amber goes to her bedroom, closing the door behind her, and only then releases all the emotions she had been holding inside. A storm of pain and betrayal rages within her. She understands that her family is broken, and the hardest battle lies ahead. One with herself and with these two people she once trusted so much. May 2024. After the confrontation and revelation of the dark truth, the Harrison household is filled with tension and silence, like the calm before the storm. Amber dives into a whirlwind of emotions. Each morning, waking up in an empty bedroom, she feels hatred and anger take over her mind. Memories of the happy days with her husband and sister turn into poisonous thoughts, poisoning every moment. James and Lisa still live in the house, but their presence has become unbearable for Amber. May 1st, James and Lisa make their first attempt to talk to Amber. They gather in the living room, but the atmosphere is so strained it feels like the air has grown heavier. Amber, James begins, lowering his gaze. We want you to know that it was a mistake. We're ready to end this and put it behind us. Lisa chimes in. We just got confused, you know? We both regret. But Amber looks at them coldly, saying nothing. In her mind, there's only one question. How can they think a simple apology will be enough? May 5th, a few days pass. Amber is lost in her thoughts. She tries to go about her day as usual, making breakfast, going to work, but there's no life left in her eyes. Anger boils inside her, like a volcano ready to erupt. Amber begins writing down her thoughts in a journal, which she hides in the top drawer of her dresser. On one of the pages, she writes in large letters, "They must pay." She doesn't yet know what exactly she'll do, but she knows that forgiveness is not an option. May 10th, James increasingly tries to start a conversation. He approaches Amber while she's washing the dishes. Amber, we need to talk. We can make this right, can't we? He says, trying to find a glimmer of hope in her eyes. But Amber doesn't respond, continuing to scrub the dishes furiously, as if trying to erase all the pain that has settled in her heart. Lisa also tries to show concern. Sister, I'm begging you, give us a chance to make things right. But Amber just glares at her with contempt. You're not my sister anymore, she says in an icy tone, leaving the room in silence. May 15th. Amber's anger gradually turns into a thirst for revenge. She starts making plans. The idea of a final meeting takes shape in her mind, where she intends to put an end to this story. She wants them to feel the pain she endured every day. Amber begins carefully planning the family dinner, where the truth will come out and where she can finally make her move. She decides to keep everything as calm as possible so they won't suspect anything. May 20th. Amber's mind constantly replays scenarios for the upcoming meeting. She sees James and Lisa sitting at the table, confident that everything will go smoothly, but they have no idea what she has prepared. She spends hours in her room, mentally running through the conversation. She gathers all the evidence she can find in their belongings, love notes, photographs, to throw back in their faces. She envisions their confused faces when they realize she's ready to do anything for justice. They need to feel the full depth of my anger, she decides. May 25th, a few days before the planned final meeting, Amber goes to the store, buying expensive groceries and a bottle of wine. Everything needed to create the illusion of an ordinary family dinner. On her way home, she stops at a park, sits on a bench, and watches children playing in the distance. I will never be able to go back to the life I had, she thinks, feeling how her anger gives way to emptiness and bitterness. She knows her actions won't bring back her former happiness, but she understands it's the only way to release her pain. May 30th. Amber starts preparing for the final meeting. She approaches Lisa and James, saying she wants to start over. A faint smile appears on her face, and they, surprised by her unexpected softness, agree. Let's have a family dinner on Friday, she suggests. James and Lisa happily accept the invitation, thinking that maybe Amber is ready to reconcile. They have no idea that this dinner will be the final act. Inside, a storm of conflicting emotions still rages within Amber. She's torn between the desire to simply leave and the urge to make them pay for everything. But her anger, fueled by the bitterness of betrayal, gradually takes over. A plan is forming, and she's ready to put it into action. June 2024. A tense atmosphere fills the Harrison household. The calendar shows the date, June 8th, the day Amber had chosen for her final meeting. She spends the whole day preparing for the dinner, which will be the last opportunity to deal with her past. There's a chilling calmness in her actions. She carefully chops vegetables for the salad, slowly stirs the soup, and methodically places the meat into the baking dish. Everything must look perfect, the final display of family harmony. 7 p.m. James and Lisa are already in the house. The atmosphere is tense. They sense that something is wrong, but try to convince themselves that perhaps Amber is ready for reconciliation. The kitchen fills with the aroma of freshly prepared dishes, while light jazz music plays in the living room, a familiar symbol of their once carefree dinners. Amber walks into the living room with a bottle of wine in her hand. "It's time to start," she says in a quiet, almost emotionless voice, pouring wine into the glasses. James and Lisa, trying to look relaxed, take their seats at the table. Their eyes avoid meeting hers. They feel that this dinner will be different from the others, but they have no idea how dramatic its ending will be. 7:30 p.m. Dinner begins. Amber sits at the table, mechanically moving her fork around her plate, while James tries to start a conversation about the future. "I think we can all find a way out of this situation," he says, but his words sound unsure. Lisa nods, adding, "Yes, we can get through this somehow. After all, we're family." Amber remains silent, watching them with cold suspicion. 7:45 p.m. Silence hangs in the air. Then, unexpectedly for James and Lisa, Amber puts her fork down, straightens up, and picks up her wine glass. "Family," she says slowly, with grim irony in her voice. "Do you really call us a family after everything you've done?" James's face goes blank with surprise, and Lisa freezes with a piece of food on her fork. Amber stares at them, her eyes gleaming with the rage she's been holding back for months. 8 p.m. She starts to talk about their betrayal, and everything that has been bottled up inside her spills out. "I trusted you," she says, breathing heavily. "You were the closest people to me, and you destroyed everything." James and Lisa try to defend themselves, their voices trembling. "Amber, we made a mistake. We know we were wrong. We're ready to make things right, James says, but Amber cuts him off sharply. Make things right? You think one word can fix everything? 8:15 p.m. Lisa, tears welling up in her eyes, tries to say something. Sister, please understand. We got confused, and it got out of control. But Amber doesn't want to hear excuses. She stands up, throwing the photos and love notes she's collected over the past months onto the table. Did you think I wouldn't find out? That I would live in ignorance while you enjoyed your little game? She yells, feeling the emotions engulf her completely. 8:30 p.m. James and Lisa are left speechless. Now they realize that Amber knew everything, that she was aware of their every move. You can hate us, but it won't change anything. James suddenly blurts out, looking at his wife in despair. We're human too, we had feelings. Those words become the last straw for Amber. Something breaks inside her, and she feels anger clouding her mind. Her heart is pounding so hard it feels like it's about to burst out of her chest. 8:35 p.m. Suddenly, Amber turns abruptly and walks out to the kitchen without saying a word. James and Lisa stay in the living room, trying to understand what's happening. What is she doing? Lisa whispers, her trembling hand touching James's. He, clenching his fists, gets up from the table. I'll go talk to her. But before he can take a step, Amber returns. In her hands is a knife that she just grabbed from the kitchen counter. 8:40 p.m. The room is filled with an ominous silence. Amber stands, holding the knife, her eyes full of rage and pain. You ruined my life, she says, moving closer to James and Lisa, step by step. They slowly back away, realizing that things have spiraled out of control. Amber, stop. Let's talk. James yells, reaching out to her, but she doesn't hear him. All she sees in front of her are the traitors who destroyed her happiness. 8:45 p.m. The final scene unfolds in a whirlwind of chaos. The knife in Amber's hand gleams in the dim light of the living room. James lunges forward to stop her, and Lisa screams, retreating backward. Everything happens too fast. Shouts, sounds of struggle, falling furniture. Late June 2024. Several weeks have passed since that terrible night, and the warmth and coziness of the Harrison house are gone. After the final meeting, ambulances and police cars appeared at the scene. Neighbors came out to watch as the family tragedy unfolded. That fateful evening, Amber, driven to the brink of despair, took an action that would forever change their lives. July 1st, the police conduct a thorough investigation of that night's events. The scene in the living room looks like a place of chaotic struggle. The overturned table, broken glasses, and drops of blood on the carpet all point to the intensity of the conflict. Emergency services find James's body in the room, fatally wounded. He died at the scene from a knife wound to the chest. Lisa is nearby, hysterical, with blood-stained hands and face. In the corner sits Amber, clutching the bloody knife, her gaze empty and distant. July 5th. News of the murder quickly spreads throughout the city. The media grabs onto the sensational story. Family drama ends in tragic finale. The Harrison home becomes the site of an investigation. The police repeatedly interrogate Lisa and Amber, trying to piece together the chain of events. Amber remains in shock, silent during questioning, refusing to give explanations. Images from that night flash through her mind. The screams, the struggle, the sound of breaking dishes, and the sudden silence when it was all over. July 10th. Caution tape hangs in front of the house. None of the neighbors dare to approach. Now, this house is filled with a grim silence and emptiness. Inside, everything looks as if time has stopped. Half-empty glasses and plates still stand on the kitchen table, a haunting reminder of how sinister that last dinner turned out to be. July 15th. Lisa is released under psychiatric observation. Her condition is extremely unstable. She's on the verge of a nervous breakdown, struggling to accept what has happened. Her face looks pale and exhausted, and her hands constantly tremble. She tries to justify herself to the police, saying she didn't know how far the conflict would go. But despite this, the feeling of guilt for what happened eats away at her. She understands that her actions were part of the tragedy, and now she'll have to live with that for the rest of her life. July 20th. Amber remains in jail. Her face is indifferent, her gaze fixed on nothing. Her life now seems unreal, like a nightmare she can't wake up from. Memories of that night, of James and Lisa, constantly surface in her mind. She realizes that her anger and despair led to the irreversible, to the death of the man she once loved. In her heart, rage and a profound sense of loss clash. July 30th. The camera shows the house's facade, its windows darkened for a long time now. It looks grim and deserted, stripped of the life that once thrived within its walls. Neighbors fear even glancing in its direction, whispering about what happened. This house has become a reminder of how fragile the world of family relationships is and how quickly it can collapse under the weight of lies and betrayal. Inside the house, silence reigns. The living room still bears the marks of what transpired. Bloodstains, dents on the floor, broken objects. All these are mute witnesses to the tragedy that unfolded here. On the wall hang photographs of the once happy family, the smiling faces of Amber, James, and Lisa. Now, these images seem painfully foreign, like remnants of a life that will never return.